Welcome to the One Zen Academy Fitness Podcast. Everything health, wellness, fitness and performance all under one roof. My name's Kieran. I've got over 15 years worth of experience within personal training, health, wellness and sports rehabilitation. For more information, go to www.onezenacademy.com. Thank you. Welcome. So today I'm joined by Sal Nazeer, who I've known for a while now, and he's a absolutely fantastic, great guy. He has extensive experience in various martial arts, which you'll find out, and he's developed a very practical way of self-defense, like a real life self-defense. He basically empowers people to think about the whole process of self-defense, not just how to defend yourself, but things like the psychology of an attacker, for instance, which are crucial in the whole process. He's been on a lifelong journey of empowerment, not just only to improve himself from things that he's had to deal with from when he was younger to adulthood, but also to improve and empower that of others that he comes across. And this is a genuine, authentic guy, and this will come across. He's an absolute legend. He now runs classes in Wing Chun and self-defense in North London. And he also does personal training, and he's also a personal training tutor. So he runs qualifications. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. It was a great interview. There's lots of absolute gems within this interview, lots of real kind of life lessons. But the takeaways from this are pretty extensive. So it may take a couple of listens. Obviously, I've got a bias towards it, but give it a couple of listens, and you'll find some real gems in this. So I give you Sal Nazeer.
If you started hitting it in the apples, I'd be all right. Yeah?
Don't be nervous.
And that's why I'm talking like this.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's happening to your voice?
I don't know.
I can't alter those vocals. I can't. Basically, we haven't got a puberty button on the vocals.
Yeah, actually put Elmo on the front of the podcast, like dancing. I mean, kind of in a sunflower hat.
Oh, I'm sure you've got an actual lower bass to your voice.
Yeah. Fuck you.
So,
don't mess with me.
Yeah. So I guess if you run us through kind of your journey from everything really, as much as you want to give.
Yeah. Okay.
But who are you? Where are you from?
Do you normally do you redo any sections anytime, or do you just sort of is it just a natural flow?
It's just natural flow. It's recording now.
Right, okay. Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. So you want to meet my journey. So let me think. So I think my journey, obviously we met through basic personal training. You mentored me to level 3. And what it is I think my first introduction to physical activity and fitness really was through Rocky 3, the movie. My dad brought that video.
Rocky 3.
Yeah, the VHS. Yeah, he brought it, and just seeing Rocky go to town on B.A. Baracus, Mr. T, it was just amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah. I watched Rocky the other day, actually.
Really? Yeah.
My favourite's Rocky 4 with Ivan Drago.
Oh yeah.
And then I watched Creed.
Oh mate,
so I haven't seen it.
Oh, haven't you?
No.
Oh my god, it was amazing. And I think that instilled, and obviously the music was great, and it felt me, I was invigorating and really heroic, and he'd overcome tough times and he'd bounce back, and that kind of inspiration. Obviously my parents were really big Bollywood fans at the time. Yeah. So obviously, the guy wins all the time, gets the ladies, and is absolutely sort of like respected and stuff. And it's all at the age of like 4 or 5 years of age, kind of thing.
So are you a Bollywood fan?
No, actually, I need subtitles to actually understand it. Yeah, it's quite funny. People actually question where I'm from, which is actually kind of sort of like quite funny. But yeah. So and then Dad brought, which is weird. Dad brought Bruce Lee videos over as well, and all of a sudden I got exposed to the Asian martial arts and everything. And again, I was thinking, oh my God, it's really heroic. These guys can take care of themselves. They can beat, bullies and stuff like that. And unfortunately, in my, even at that very young age, I think I felt quite isolated from groups of people. And, you know, I felt quite left out. I didn't feel like part of a group or anything. And, you know, and various experiences at home, which we can talk about later, just made me feel that if I did the martial arts, and got really good, I'd be kind of respected, and people would accept me, and, you know, and these little things. And I'd feel better. Yeah. Cause I struggled with confidence from a very young age. I didn't like public speaking at all, which is really weird actually, to do what I do now. So I just thought to myself, roll on a couple of years. My mum decided it was good for me to go to a martial arts school. So, she put me into a taekwondo class. And, you know, I loved it. The suits, you know, everything. But all of a sudden, at school, rather than being respected, I don't know whether it was my school, but people would almost see that as a challenge to fight you, to sort of see who was better. And obviously me thinking I would be better at fighting, or handling myself and being confident. So wasn't the case. I was getting absolutely trashed, you know, and I also started to, you know, purposely avoid people or, not engage in arguments because I was quite fearful of it getting to that point where things could get out of hand. So I got introduced to fear as well, during my late juniors, which would be year 5, year 6, to early sort of year 7, year 8, now in secondary school. And then I struggled with that actually. And all of a sudden, but if there was any defining moments or defining period of my time, it would be then, because all of a sudden, you know, performance under pressure, you know, and even with it, whether it was exams or actual sort of like dealing with, bullies and dealing with emotional sort of stuff from bullies, actually sort of like came to play. And it took me a good 10 to 15 years to actually realize what was happening and how to successfully deal with it.
Wow. Okay. So you did taekwondo. Did you go on to any other martial arts?
Yeah. So I did taekwondo for about a couple of years. And I got to say, I think a blue belt or something, which is quite high up. So it's like 4 or 5 grades away from a black belt. Yeah. And then, because I thought, well, I'm no good at punching or striking, and people kept grabbing me by the wrists, I thought, well, actually, I need to go to a martial art that shows me how to deal with being grabbed. So I went to Aikido, and obviously Aikido, if no one knows about it, it's a Japanese martial art, and the movements are based on the movements of the sword or the spear. And so you got empty hand stuff where you can deal with grabs and people are getting thrown around. It's absolutely beautiful. I fell in love with the philosophy, which was one of peace, and spirituality. And I really loved it. However, it coincided with me now at the age of 18, 19, going into security as a store detective. Yeah. And again, a profession I found really fascinating, and the surveillance side really appealed to me. Yeah. You know, James Bond, you know. And what happened is I just recall doing my first arrest and having to grab someone and think I could put on this technique. And oh my God, did I come at the other end of a massive struggle and the other security officers having to help me out. Yeah. So it was a big, big wake up call and everything. So I thought, okay, well, let me do something else. Let me go into close quarters combat, which was Wing Chun, Chinese boxing, because everything that you do within Wing Chun is within arm's length, basically. Yeah. So I tried to do that, but obviously in security, you're not allowed to strike people, really. The aim is to actually, physical intervention really is about arm locks and restraining people from, usually to not get away. And, so again, I sort of felt really stuck and really perplexed as to what to do. And then someone said, well, you need to be calm under pressure. So do Tai Chi. So I did a couple of months of Tai Chi. But again, in terms of physical combat, it really really didn't help me at all, you know, kind of thing. So
while I move,
or how, you know, I was trying to sort of like get the chi and hopefully it would knock someone out.
Did you think you were Iron Fist?
Yeah, I thought they would just drop whenever I, like Darth Vader style, put my hand up and they just fall. And that wasn't going to, you know, it was almost like I just see this person rushing towards you. Yeah. And you know how time just stands still and this guy gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm just getting thrown backwards. And guys who had not trained seemed to handle these situations meticulously. They managed them. They could calm people down and they could also restrain them with ease. And they had no formal days training in their lives. And, you know, I was really, you know, it knocked my confidence a lot. And so I sort of moved, I thought, right, okay, I need something a bit more. So I did Filipino martial arts, which is stick fighting and knives and empty hands and grappling. And again, you know, great stuff. I just could not make it work. And I think there was a confidence thing, but also training for reality. But the other factor is that when these things are kicking off, I'm out of breath, I'm exhausted, I feel absolutely weak, and I'm absolutely thinking, I can't manage it, I can't handle it. So what do I do? Flashback to Rocky 3, pounding the pavements, you know, sort of like, you know, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee type thing. And what happened is I tried to train, but obviously situations in security or anywhere else do not happen like in a boxing match. So even though I was trying to get fitter, I thought, well, I need to get even more fitter than the next person and everything. So I would throw myself into the gym and everything. And at the same time, the doctors advised, because I was getting highly stressed and highly anxious, go to the gym and sort of burn it off, that nervous energy. But then obviously what happened was, as I was training, because I thought, right, do heavy weights, you know, sprint lots, do lots of sprints, etc. But there was no methodology to that. Or no kind of programming, and personal training I hadn't really thought of at the time. But also I started to come off with injuries, and again, frustration looms, and you've got this vicious circle where you're trying to train quite intensely, and you can't because you're starting to get injured and you're getting hugely frustrated. So then, as I spent a number of years in security, I thought, well, what do we do to address that? And I thought, do a fitness qualification. Let's see if you can train yourself to manage that, you know. But really, it was the psychology of attacks as well. So obviously, my life's gone to fitness and to sort of self-defense or along those lines. So what occurred is I became a level 2 gym instructor. And I have to be honest with you, anatomy and physiology totally threw me because it was not so specific to what I was looking for at the time, because it's giving you a very generic thing. And I was trying to make sense of it, which I could design a program. I was okay with that, but it wasn't specific to what I wanted. And then I went on to the level 3, which I didn't complete at that time. And again, it was just too much information and I couldn't relate it to what I really wanted. So I stayed with the level 2. I developed my self-defense qualification, which I'll talk about in a minute. And roll on 6 to 7 years later, that's where we actually met for the level 3 and everything. But on the self-defense, on the martial arts journey side, what happened is I came across this article in Martial Arts Illustrated magazine, and there was these 2 guys called Jeff Thompson and Jamie O'Keefe and Peter Constantine, 3 guys actually, and they were talking about fear and feeling scared in physically confrontational situations. And that was just news to me. What, people could be scared, even though you're like a 9th Dan in karate.
But it's not something you hear about, is it? You know, you always hear, you know, so I listen to a lot of other podcasts and stuff, and you know, jiu-jitsu is, you know, it's nothing against jiu-jitsu, but it is quite in fashion. A lot of people do jiu-jitsu for obvious reasons. It's quite a decent martial art, but people very rarely discuss the fear element of
absolutely,
it.
yeah.
Maybe working for you and working against you,
totally,
and so on.
Totally,
But yeah, I think it's important. So this was the first time you were exposed to kind of, okay, these guys experience fear.
Yeah, and all of a sudden they were saying, well, it's not just about, obviously you've got fear. Fear's the whole thing that defines everything. But they said, but how do you get approached? And how do people talk to you? And how do you talk people down? And how do you launch, how do you physically defend yourself from there? And all of a sudden what they just did was put these pieces of the jigsaw together. When people talk about confrontation, especially in self-defense, they're looking at, what happens? What do we do when we get attacked? If we get grabbed, if we get put to the floor, or if someone punches us? Then you talk about the stages beforehand, which is you have to be selected as the victim. And there's a particular perception of a specific victim. Say they lack confidence, they're very exposed, okay, and the opportunity is there, or there's something the attacker wants, okay. So again, now we look into the psychology of an attacker, and really, if we look a little more confident, go about to daily life with a bit more of a positive body language, and also don't have valuables to show. Literally, the selection process for an attacker will be like, well, that's a no-go. There's nothing that we want. They look like they can handle themselves. Let's just leave it there. Okay. And then the would-be victim can go, doesn't get approached at all. That's prevention in its purest form. But just talking about that, all of a sudden I thought, wow, and how do they disguise managing your personal space, and how do you do it in such a way? Because normally what happens in pictures is like they've got two hands up, stop, kind of thing. So someone asks you to time, stop, you know what I mean? Or, or they start to get kind of aggressive or menacing, and you just put your hands up and you shout, stop. And it was almost like, well, actually we have to get people to work on their dialogue under pressure. If someone's been aggressive, how do we maintain our personal space and maintain calm, etc.? But if you start to do it, you start to realize where your skills lie, and again, so you went from prevention or psychology to approach, managing personal space, how to talk to people, whether to talk them down, or where some people get a bit scared is to be assertive and say, stop, or leave me alone, or I need to go. And then they're not allowed to go, or the attacker starts their physical attack on them. And then it's time to sort of obviously do or use a physical defensive technique or something. But just to break it down in stages, totally simplified it for me. And all of a sudden, my arrest rate and security went through the roof. I was actually having a better time calming incidents down, de-escalating situations. I was able to apply techniques successfully, which also my confidence just went straight through the roof. And I got, I was really, really happy with that kind of success rate. So all of a sudden, I was training okay, still getting injured in training, but my success with either doing the door or in retail security was pretty high, and I was absolutely sort of like flying, sky high and everything. So yes, it went full circle from very traditional martial arts through to a various number of martial arts, and then coming across the psychology, which Jeff Thompson, Jamie O'Keefe and Peter Constantine were talking about, and then thinking, wow, this is something I'd love to promote. If it stops one person getting hurt, or if it allows people to understand that you will feel scared, it's about what you do with it. So it became a life empowering thing. And most people talk about confronting fear. But it's a hard thing, how bad is that fear? How bad is that anxiety? And sometimes when we address things, it kind of gets worse in a way. So it's about, well, we have to kind of accept that. So again, you've got attributes in how to be compassionate with yourself, how to be kind, but also not to push yourself so much that you burn out. You have to sort of do it in a very structured way. And I think for the personal benefits of the martial arts of doing self-defense or self-protection, and became a lot more clearer. So I was really sky high. I was really happy, very successful in security. And then after a number of years, I'm thinking, I'm not training as much because I'm thinking I'm confident. I know how to take people on. This is fine. But I missed the traditional stuff of the martial arts, you know, people getting together, learning about technique. Because self-defense, it is technique, but it's kind of not. It's whatever works.
Yeah.
Is great.
Yeah.
You know? Whereas with the martial arts, it's okay, is your foot right? Is the weight placement right? Is your hands right? Is your punch correct, etc. And I kind of missed that kind of perfection type thing, that journey. So I was thinking, well, what do I go to? And I didn't want to do karate again. So I was thinking about something else. And I had a big thing about bodyweight training at the time. And I just happened to come across a guy called Alan Orr who had his own bodyweight training program called Warrior Functional Training. And I contacted him and said, you know, I'd like to do this. I feel like I've just reached a stage where I want to develop myself physically, but with just body weight, I don't like weights. He goes, yeah, okay, fine. And we got talking. It turns out he was a Wing Chun guy.
Okay.
Yeah. And from when I did Wing Chun previously, it was quite good. But with the advent of UFC, which literally made loads of martial arts run away, and loads of would-be heroes actually disappear, you know, when they couldn't handle stuff. Because the UFC really did expose a lot of charlatans and fraudsters and people who talk the talk, but not necessarily walked it.
Okay.
You know, and Wing Chun was one of those where you didn't really see them in MMA at that time. I thought, well, it's not really my thing, to be honest with you. And when Alan was talking about it, I was like, yeah, whatever. But he goes, yeah, but my guys had control. They could control their opponents. And we managed our stuff. I was like, okay, fine. And again, not really concerned with it. Yeah. And I was just thinking, I'll probably go somewhere else. And I went over to his class on an invite. Actually, no, I went to do his instructor seminar to become an instructor in his bodyweight system. Yeah. And did the thing. And one of his fighters came along called Neil. And Neil was just a monster. And, you know, after training, then obviously in the evening, Alan would go and teach his Wing Chun class, which I was invited to. And I was like, we had to do the forms. Yeah. I was like, oh, yeah, right. Yeah, great. I don't really need to do that. What's that going to help me with in my self-defense training? And I just recall that I got to spar with Neil. Now, bear in mind, self-defense is just a one-hit technique. Yeah. Hit, maybe hit again and get the hell out of there, basically. Or hit, and your secret officers come and help you. You know, that's what it is. That's my success. But there's always a question whether after the first couple of strikes, if they're still standing, you've got a situation where you're either rolling around or you're both going at it. And I kind of thought, I don't know if I could manage that. You know, I don't know if I could mentally handle that or if I've got the skills to. And that came to me quite quickly because I went to spar with Neil. And Neil, in the first 30 seconds of a 2-3 minute sparring round, dropped me. A leg kick to the thigh, took me right down, got back up, slapped me again, and hit me, and I kept going down. And obviously, as I'm going down, to get back up, it just takes a lot of willpower, overcoming fear. You're winded, and your ego's on the line, really, you know. But he wasn't being brutal. He was able to control it, and he obviously was pulling his punches and kicks. But I could feel myself getting disheartened all the way, and I was like, oh my God, in like 8 years, I've never been put down. And this guy's just put me down in 30 seconds, you know. And I thought, okay, but sparring, I just do self-defense. And then when Alan and Neil did this, what we call chi sao, which is rolling hands, which is similar to Tai Chi push hands, just with certain differences. The way Alan handled Neil, because Alan's the instructor, and there was such a power behind and grace behind what he was doing, but with such body control that even though Neil obviously was doing an MMA thing where he was trying to do takedowns or trying to hit with round punches, etc. And I was just like, whoa. And I just felt self-defense and the martial art just came together for me in that. And that was it. I was a disciple from then on. And then I went to train with Alan. But it took me a good 3 or 4 years to overcome me being disheartened It has to be said, it was not an easy journey at all, because it kind of exposed my own, because I think my confidence was kind of built on quicksand in a way, because I thought, right, I'm getting there, but I hadn't dealt with or processed my sort of early experiences. So I kind of coated over that with physical technique and anger and everything. I moved on, and I said to Alan, okay, I'm in. Let's do this. And again, I was still being mishandled, as in I could not do anything to anyone. Even now, that's the same. That's the same. It's the same. It's the case. But Alan took me under his wing, and over 2 years, all of a sudden, I went from being, pardon my French, shit scared of getting hit, to all of a sudden being able to take the hit and start to come back with a little more. And then gradually it was just come back with one punch. Then it was come back with 2 punches. And then I'd get a bit of pain. And now I could actually easily sort of like swat it off, and I'd start to go to work, basically. Okay. But that was the beauty of coaching. And all of a sudden, that beauty of coaching, and he was a personal trainer as well. So just seeing how he taught people and brought people up and elevated their skill level and confidence level. I started to take that into the classes that I was teaching, and I taught box fit. But my emphasis was always, this is how you need to feel, because this isn't a fight. You're going to have to get your way out of it. So I was really trying to hit their mindset and stuff like that. But the trouble was with that type of training, it's very full on. It's very intense. Excuse me. And it's not for everyone. And I started to notice the people that would kind of not come again. And they tended to be people who weren't fit, people who weren't confident, and people who said they wanted to do it, but just didn't have the follow through to do that. And my attention focused on them more than the people that were managing to do it. And that's where personal training and everything else came in. And that's when I decided to redo the qualification fully, to learn about coaching, and as well as the anatomy and physiology and where it came together. And thankfully, obviously I met you, and all of a sudden it was brilliant, because you taught it in such a way that I took to it straight away. And the links were made, and all of a sudden my teaching became a lot more holistic. Coaching, I became a better coach rather than too full on. So I met people on their level. And again, sometimes we just give programs. I've noticed this with quite a few trainers, where they'll just give you the same program all the time without analysis or without tailoring it to you. It's not a one-to-one designated program for the individual. And I think as soon as I got that made me the better coach and a better personal trainer. And all of a sudden, people who used to shy away from classes, I realized I have to meet them on their level. And to be honest with you, I mean, that's a very long story, isn't it? Really, you know what I mean? You haven't even said the one thing at the moment. But basically, in a way, I think it made me a better coach, just learning stuff. But also had to get people who felt that they couldn't do it. And really, when we're talking about the population or people who are sedentary, the problem is people coming out the comfort zone is a big deal, you know, and how do we empower them to make their own choices, or to give them a sense of purpose, or follow through on their sense of purpose to get them healthier, fitter, and what things would work for them, you know. I was really, really, what's the word? I'd compare boxing to, say, Zumba. And I was like, Zumba? Really? Are you serious? You know, what will that do for you? But I'll be honest with you, when I did my classes, I had 12 people. Zumba had 30, 40 people. Women, mainly, and a demographic that would not come to my class. And that kind of made me sad, you know, other than the numbers, you know, because there's an ego thing as well. But again, I wasn't reaching those people. So what do we do? But then you start to see within fitness and personal training that if they're moving, they're working their hearts, they're coordinating, they're having fun. That's the idea. So therefore they are doing something that's good for them. So don't be too quick to judge. And I learned quite quickly to sort of, to be a bit more open to other approaches to health and fitness, but also open and more analytical of bringing people on board. So it went from really being sort of like having very heavy experiences in terms of being hurt and beaten up, etc. And then trying to manage that and deal with that in terms of learning various martial arts, become more confident and everything, and then going to security. And then obviously coming across a lot of situations that were physically aggressive or emotionally confrontational. And then again, trying to learn how to manage that and how to help other people. Because I think I do like helping other people, giving advice that empowers them too. And I think on a physical level, I thought personal training would be really good. And like I said, things sort of started to fall into place quite quickly after that, really. But it took me, I'm 43 now, so it took me the best part of 25 to 30 years, you know.
But a lot of people don't, you know, they never really know what they want to do with their life. So, you know, I guess a lot of people walk throughout their life without that sense of purpose.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes when you feel like you don't have a purpose, whatever that may be, that's quite stressful.
Yeah.
I was reflecting recently on things that make me stressed, and not having a sense of purpose.
Yeah.
And boredom actually is, I find, quite stressful.
Yeah.
When I'm bored with things.
Yeah.
I guess not just stressful, it makes me actually anxious.
Right.
You know, what am I not doing? Why am I bored of this? This is a good thing. Why? And when you break it down, it's sometimes because it just doesn't fit with your core values, the fundamentals of who you are as a person. And sometimes it's just an honest conversation with yourself.
Yeah.
But I guess that's the same with life in general.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people don't want that honest conversation with themselves because it drags up a lot of issues.
Absolutely. Totally. And I think as well, when you're busy, a busy person anyway, sometimes our busyness is getting away from the inner silence, really, isn't it? And that inner dialogue that you may need to have with yourself. Yeah. Because we find that, again, with people that train quite a lot, when they don't train or they're injured, all of a sudden they get these, other than, you know, they lose their physical fitness after a couple of weeks, but it's almost, they're left with themselves and they're having to deal with their own frustrations and everything like that. And again, they've been exposed to their own inner core, really. Yeah. And I think a lot of people aren't able to listen to that. They don't have a tolerance to that. And so what do? They throw themselves into something else, you know.
Definitely.
You know, and in a way, with the up and up of the awareness of emotional health and mental health awareness and stuff, which is so important now, especially for guys, that when we're talking about reflection and meditation and yoga, it is really about the process of how we calm ourselves down and how we accept ourselves on a really true level, isn't it?
It's that acceptance, acceptance. So I think that's why, especially meditation is so difficult for people. Is purely because they don't know how to be alone with themselves. It can be a scary, uncomfortable place.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
A friend of mine, and I won't name his name.
It's not me, is it?
No.
I'm not your friend.
You are definitely a friend.
Thank you.
This isn't you, but I won't mention his name. But if he's listening, he'll know.
Okay.
He's the only person I know who lost his shit during a meditation. So the story goes, we were lying on the floor and the person taking it was speaking in, I guess, in a language he didn't understand, talking about the equinox of the moon.
Oh God,
that sort of language. And I guess if you're not familiar with that language or you don't use that language, it's like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
And he just lost his shit and walked out. And he's the only person that I know who actually got angry and walked out because of a meditation. And I'm not saying he doesn't know how to be alone with himself. I'm really not saying that. But it just goes to show how hard it actually is. For the average person to meditate. And, being alone with yourself isn't sometimes an easy thing. I had a meditation this morning and for the first 5 minutes, I promise you, it was a struggle to maintain the concentration on the breath and so on. I sometimes have to plug in my ears to binaural beats to get the kind of beta frequency to kind of lower the brain waves and so on. And I do find that really helps. Really helps. And that was what I needed this morning. And sometimes you just got to do what you need to do.
Absolutely. I think I think, to be honest with you, I think there's something, as we're talking about meditation and expectations of a meditation session. I remember going to my first yoga class. I'd seen it in the programs, Good Morning TV or something, goes to shows, don't it, and newspaper saying the benefits of meditation and how you feel great, or yoga, etc. I did my first yoga session. Kieran, I'll tell you something, I felt more stressed because my posture wasn't right. I couldn't get I didn't know, but everybody else knew what they were doing. And I was in downward dog. I just remember the blood rushing to my head and my arms were really tired. Did I feel like I was levitating and I had enlightenment? Hell no. So it's a process. And I think that's the thing about meditation. I don't know if this is, and again, this is just me putting out this, my experience, but I think because sometimes maybe I'm guilty of this, that I want the quick fix. I want the quick fix, enlightenment. I want the quick fix realizations. But as with everything, with physical fitness and emotional fitness too, I think sometimes it's a process. It's time. It's, and that thing. And a picture comes in my head about this brilliant picture or caricature that I saw. And you had this, you had two figures. One was like a Buddhist monk. And you had this person who looked like he was in a cross-legged position, obviously a novice. And his eyes were closed. And again, it's a caricature. And the bubble from this novice is like, is this it? You know what I mean? It was this boredom thing and, okay, what now? And it's not. And it really exemplifies, I think, this, what do I expect? What's meant to happen from now, But personally, I think the more me time you have, and we all get busy. It is crazy. I mean, our society is pretty much 24/7. When you kind of are not aware of yourself, you're just a machine. You just keep going. You keep helping people, helping family, doing this, that, and the other, and you keep giving. In a better way, better put, actually, that all of a sudden you're kind of coming out as simply yourself, and that it's only when your body starts to respond that you're overtired or fatigued, or you're getting burnt out, or you're de-energized, that you start to sort of like look at your life and you're thinking, I'm just fed up. Whereas sometimes the balance is off, and the reason why you're de-energized is because you're just not having your you time, doing something you like, for instance, investing in yourself, your purpose, your dreams, or your peace, and which I think is quite important. And it's really weird because just going back to your friend, which has picked something up for me, which I don't think is talked about a lot, is men and anger. I think anger was a very big part of my life from a very young age, where I'd get really frustrated and I'd be very angry at the people that would hurt me and everything. And because I lacked the physical skills or the emotional skills to be sarcastic back, I'd get resentful and then and I'd hold it, and I was trying to be this nice guy, and anger was apparently very bad for you, and it just kept going throughout years. And sometimes I'd have this meltdown and then I'd bring it back in because it was bad to have a meltdown. But I realized I wasn't processing anger, but I also wasn't honest about my triggers and what it meant to me. And it sort of led on to this path where obviously when I was in security, I was getting angry with stuff because I was having to enforce, the rules, etc. And they were being confrontational back. So I'd have to get angry. And, but it was doing that all the time for about 8 to 13 years of your life and being exposed to very heavy situations. I think personally it was probably a defense mechanism. So I don't think too deep and I don't get too depressed. So to get angry is adrenaline, and it fires you up, and you can blot out all these negative emotions or feelings and thoughts and memories you have. And it was like all of a sudden, I'd just be like a bit of a trigger punch person. And And I didn't realize it, but I started losing people around me, and people didn't like hanging out with me. And then I'd sort of like, you know, hang around with people that were just equally as angry or aggressive. And it didn't really make me a pleasant person. And it was only until the run-in with the police, actually, that it needed to be addressed, you know, and it kind of spearheaded my move into going more into fitness as well. And learning how to, and again, learning how to get more balance. But again, that was a big process because you got 10 to 15 years worth of experiences, and you're emotionally and as a person sort of like learning how to handle that through anger or through cutting things out, etc. And then all of a sudden you're starting to have more me time, process stuff, but all of a sudden you're getting all these thoughts, feelings, etc. And I was getting really angry. I mean, trigger happy, and I was thinking, I don't like this. But I couldn't help myself. And the moment I knew I couldn't help myself being not angry or managing like an argument should just be an argument rather than getting to be horrible or to get really personal, and realizing that argument is just another form of communication and venting, you know, and a negotiation, for instance, that I realized that something had to be done.
Yeah.
So, so I checked into counselling for that. And again, it was, a 6 to 7 year period. The NHS kept me waiting actually for about 2 years. You know, and I'm grateful when they finally came through with, you know, I got to see a really nice guy, and shout out to Martin actually. And he, and all of a sudden it was CBT. So all of a sudden understanding your thoughts, your emotions, and actually journaling.
Yeah.
You know, that poor guy, he gave me this like template to fill out. He goes, over the week, just fill this out. You know, do a couple of pages if you like, and we can discuss it when you come. I swear he should have booked for overtime the following week, because I had this like Bible worth of templates that I'd just given it back to him. But he was really impressed. He goes, well, this is a way of you processing stuff. Let's get it out. And, but also accepting. And sometimes when we're meditating or have you time, sometimes things are coming up and you're trying to push them out of the way.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's about, again, periodization in a way, or how you'll be getting shocked to the system. We have to adapt to it, and then we have a response. So how do we get sort of like not allow it to fire off adrenaline and everything? And how do we do that? But it's a process that can't be forced. It's a gradual desensitization thing where you can manage it just like you do a car. You know, you can drive along, you don't get irritated by other people. And you can be quite clinical about driving the car, steering the wheel, observation skills, changing the gear stick, etc. So again, it was trying to take things not so personally and everything, and understanding that there's a process to that and all that.
Yeah, I think it's a good point actually with the process of it. And I think sometimes and this is just how I think of it. You've got kind of, everyone's got their demons, the inner demons, and the inner demon gains strength from you keeping it in the shadows.
Yeah.
Now the inner demon is attached to you.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of strength to shine the light on the demon.
Yeah.
Because that demon gets hurt and thereby you get hurt.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of dedication, but ultimately going through the pain of shining the light on that demon, which is ultimately still a part of you. And that's, in just my view, and this is from my experience.
Yeah.
That's why people deny that, like, I'll just keep you in the shadow because that's where you'll be, but that's where you draw strength, but you're in the shadow. And if I keep myself busy enough, if I do all these things, I don't have to acknowledge you.
Yeah.
So when you go into something like meditation or some sort of self practice, like self-reflection or just a walk or whatever it is, you suddenly find that the demon places that hand on your shoulder and it's like, I'm still here.
That's right. It's
just one of those.
It's frightening.
It's horrible. Yeah.
I
mean, I remember when I was younger. I will say when I say younger, I'm not meaning kid. I'm meaning like early 20s. I woke up one night and I had this feeling of being something on my chest pushing me down.
Oh my!
And it was literally this thing
Wow.
I must have been half asleep. I mean, you know, for those of you listening, you may believe in X, Y, Z. And I'm sure I must have been half asleep, but I could visually see this thing on top of my chest.
Yeah.
And I then had to close my eyes and I could feel its breath.
Oh my God.
On my face.
Yeah.
And I was paralyzed, couldn't do anything. And then it almost, how can I describe it? It was like a laugh.
Yeah.
And then it went.
Yeah.
And I remember like them properly waking up and I was just in the pool of sweat. And I was thinking, fuck. And that was actually a point for me where I started to address things. I was like, I'm not sure what that was. No. I'm pretty sure it was literally the physical embodiment of my inner demon.
Yeah. It's weird.
And I know that sounds far-fetched.
No.
But I appreciate it was, you know, my nervous system and my mind and all that, but it was fucking real. And that was the terrifying thing. Like, that was me. That was me doing that, and that was real. If I don't address this, it's only me that's going to end up killing me or doing X, Y, Z. And I just thought, that's fucked up.
Yeah,
and that kind of actually led me down a path of, you know, mental wellness and so on. And that really is a journey. There's no quick fixes there at all. No. You know, and I'm sure you'll agree with me on that. There's
no totally. Fixes. I think, you know, I had like, originally the NHS appointment was only for 6 weeks. They gave me 18 weeks. After the 5th, 6th week, they were like, actually, we think we need to work with you some more. And they actually had to, I wouldn't say pull strings, but they actually had to sort of like put it in such a way that I was allowed to come back and everything.
So what you're saying is there to increase NHS funding for you?
Yeah, basically. I'm sorry, guys. Do you know what I mean? You know, thanks for making me feel bad.
You drained it. You're the reason why Brexit's happening.
You know what I mean? Thanks, man. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what to say. You know, there's so much more I could say, but I'm not going to say because I just put myself in it. But it's in reality, I think, and that's the thing, is that, you know, and I think the trouble is taught these skills too young, you don't really relate to it, you don't understand it. And almost it's like, well, why are we doing these PSE sessions, you know, and everything? But it is so important. But how do we address it and how do we teach people without formally teaching them, you know, those soft skills type thing? But I think, definitely for me, you know, it got to that point where I was just kicking off all the time. But I think I was just trying to get stuff off my chest. I just didn't know how to. And obviously when I started to get in trouble with the police, you know, that it became a really big deal because I thought, well, all of a sudden my life could change from this. And there's nothing worse than a police cell. So if you've never been in a police cell, okay, have you been in a police cell? Shall I ask you that question? I can either deny or confirm. So it's very public, isn't it? We should have had this with the microphone on. But basically, that's a nervous laugh there, Kieran. You know, basically, it's a bare fucking room.
Yeah.
With just a bed that smells of vomit. Okay. You get this, shoddy blanket to keep yourself warm because it's quite cold. There's no clock, so there's no sense of time.
Right.
Okay. And it's the worst 24 effing hours of your life. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. And the reason why I was put there is because, it was a self-defense related situation, actually. A couple of, I thought there were guys, it was late at night, a couple of guys that were hitting cars and they happened to hit my car. A confrontation resulted. I tried to apprehend the person that hit my car and tried to call the police. Turns out there were 15-year-old kids who were actually taller than me, looked a lot better than me as well. But, in doing so, one of them picked up a stick and went at me with this stick. So obviously in protection of myself, I just, I shoved him back, but my hand happened to hit his face as well. Right. And the police came, and obviously about 10 of them, and his face was bruised and everything. Obviously, whilst they had to investigate that, I had to go to, I was handcuffed and put into a cell. Right. And I'll tell you something, even though I was in the right, you know, I was defending myself and it was my property. Just being stuck there, I just thought, I just can't do this. I'm just not, you know, I was like 33 at the time, I think. Right. And I just thought, there's just no way. I've got all I want to do, I want to just go up the road and go and get a can of Coke or something like that and be free. And I'm stuck in here because of this. And also I was backtracking in my life, and I'm backtracking with the situation, thinking, could I have avoided it? You know, do I really want to be here again? You know, and those coppers kept me in for 24 hours. It weren't even after 10 hours of an investigation. They kept me in for the 24 hours.
Wow.
And, cause obviously, kids were involved, etc. But they themselves were very sympathetic and very kind about it. But just being in that room, I just thought, I don't want to be here again, ever, you know. So in a way, the deterrent worked in a way. I would never go back to it. But at the same time, I realized that I had to stop being so trigger happy, and I needed to, if I can de-escalate a situation, I should be able to. But it really meant, as you sort of said, that I had to address my own experiences. And I want to say face them head on, but even I knew that the anxiety in facing that and in switching on the light and face that inner demon is hugely painful. My counsellor actually kind of made it less anxious and said it's an inner child, really, with unresolved sort of stuff. And it's almost like, well, if you hold the inner child's hands, will you be okay? Can you comfort the inner child and everything? And even that was too painful, I have to be honest. And that took a long time, you know. And you can't force that process. I think everyone's individual to that. Some people can, some people can't, or some people just need, because even keeping it out, even when you push it to the background, it's, what's the word? It's a survival thing. You do not want to take on too much because you don't know if you can handle it. And that's fine, you know, but then, left too long in the background, it will come up and remind you it's there and stuff. And that's the big thing, I think. So that was the process, of gradually having the, having the courage to face that and having the depth to, I wouldn't say accept it, but to understand that things have happened, and that I'm okay now. I'm out of the worst of it. You know, and I can actually say I'm at peace now because I've gone through it. And if you've gone through anything that's horrendous, the fact you've come out of it means that you survived it. You are strong. And it's just your bodies and mind catching up and saying, oh my God, I've been through a really traumatic experience. But you're going to have to let that all simmer down for you to carry on with your life, really. And sometimes we do need to talk about that. Sometimes we can journal it. Sometimes all we need is a hug to sort of make us feel better. But really it's about the process of getting from point A to point Z and everything and the bit in between.
So what would you say, you know, because obviously anxiety disorders, depression, you know, it's 1 in 4 people in their lifetime will suffer from depression. 1 in 5 people currently in the UK thinking about ending their own life each week. You know, these are ridiculous stats.
Absolutely, yeah.
What would you say kind of is the if someone listening was going to start either the journey or they were going to just do something today that will maybe affect their life in a positive, is there anything from your experience or your knowledge base that you would give them?
If I'm honest, I think if you're aware that something's off, then what could you do about it? I think that's the first point to start.
Just asking that question,
you know, if you're feeling unhappy, okay, addressing that and thinking, well, I'm unhappy. So then all of a sudden that will spearhead, you have to brainstorm a couple of solutions. I think talking to friends is really important, and being around people when you feel like that. Okay. And then if that continues, if, you know, the signs of depression are there where you can't get out of bed or it feels hopeless or everything's very dark, you start to question your place in life and everything, then I would recommend that you then touch base with a doctor or a medical professional. And if you can't do that, then obviously call either the Samaritans or book an appointment with a counsellor. There are quite a few counsellors that do work cheaply or get people as a group. Free group sessions for minimal payment, even that, and stuff. So I think the moment things happen, or don't try to push that out, try to sort of, seek help. But at the same time, when we're talking about self-management, it's about, can we change our moods? Are we able to distract ourselves? But a big thing about depression is that you can distract yourself for a bit. Yeah. But then it'll come back, and it'll come back almost like a tsunami in certain circumstances. But once you realize that's happening, and it is tough because I think sometimes we downplay that stuff. Oh no, I should be able to handle it. It's fine. Or other people say, don't say you're depressed because you will get depressed. Yeah. Which is, I kind of get that kind of thinking. I think the trouble is if the word depression keeps coming up, or those feelings keep coming up, it needs to be addressed and stuff. So not being afraid to ask for help, I think, and everything.
I think the worst thing is if you have a low mood or you're suffering from that and someone just goes, I'll just snap out of it or pick yourself up. Yeah. And in my head, I'm like, brilliant. Or why didn't I think of that? It's like saying to a homeless person, just get a house. Get more money. By saying to someone who's really obese, just lose weight. Yeah. It's like, what? It's like the worst, most patronizing thing you could say. Yeah. And it really lacks understanding. Like it's like pure ignorance.
It's also, there's a lack of empathy in that, isn't there? It's a lack of connection. Someone says that. What are you meant to do with that? Then you've got the pressure of having to snap out of it and thinking that your feelings are, dysfunctional feelings, which to a degree they are. And I think the friend, which actually we'll talk about that in a minute if we've got time, but you kind of work into your friend's beat rather than your own. And you need to, sometimes it's good to step out of that, but sometimes you have to address it, and it's knowing when, if it's just, I wouldn't say a normal bad or sad day, but if you're having a day where you're just feeling blah, then what can we do to get out of the house? Maybe go watch a movie, listen to some nice music rather than sad music, etc. Those little things can help you. Or go and do some exercise, which is a proven game changer when it comes to depression. But if it keeps coming back, then something needs to be addressed. And it's about, again, shining the light and see what it is. And sometimes we just don't know. And that can be quite scary, can be confusing. But in itself, that's the process of learning to understand, cope, and manage with that and everything. The other thing about talking to friends, definitely in my experience, because I felt suicidal a lot of the times in my life, and attempted, and again, this is disclosure. So I attempted 4 or 5 times in my own life and everything. Where things just got too much and stuff. And I remember sort of talking to friends and thinking, I'm really feeling suicidal, and they'd be like, snap out of it, or, and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, yeah, fine. You're right. I shouldn't think like that. But again, my emotions are saying one thing and consciously I'm saying another. And so there's a conflict, because I can't handle life. And I'm coming up with one solution to just end it or stop it all by ending it all. And logically, I know that's not the right way to go, but I'm getting consumed by my own emotions. But it's maybe have to a couple of friends that are empathic, who will give you time, who will attempt to understand you, and who you kind of will take their opinions into consideration because they're good for you. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think sometimes you've got a number of friends, and again, this is neither good or bad, because we have certain skill sets. We can be very good listeners or not, kind of thing. So sometimes just having people that will listen to you, as well. And to go back on my experiences, I used to get really bad downs. I still do. Yeah. But my management technique is slightly different, and I'll explain in a moment for that. But my cousins would sort of say, well, come around and stay at the house. Don't have to talk, just sleep, we'll feed you. I'd go around to the house, it got me out of the house, okay, and I'd sleep for about 15, 20 hours, and I'd wake up, I'd be groggy, Sal, do you want something to eat? No, I don't feel like it. Okay, man, that's cool. We're going to watch TV. Do you want to watch with us? No, I don't feel like I just want to stay. Okay, can I hang around with you for a bit? I'll just do my work in the room, but you don't have to communicate with me. Yeah. I was like, I'd feel kind of, I've got company, but I wasn't overwhelmed with having to talk. And if I wanted to talk, they'd be there to listen. But that's them going out of their way, you know. And then obviously over a number of years, they went off and got married, bastards, you know, and, you know, left me alone and everything. But all of a sudden, the needs changed. And also I'm thinking to myself, actually, I need to, now do I try to manage the feelings, because I don't want to put too much pressure on them, which in a way we want to be able to ask for help. And I'm talking about the reality of asking for friends as well, and everything, and the realism of it is that, okay, I need to up my skill set in such a way that I can manage the feelings without putting too much pressure on them, because now they're family people. But I do know that they will be there for me. If I send a text and say I'm having a really bad day, you know, more than likely they'll sort of say, come around, you know, and maybe stay a day or two with the kids, you know, kind of thing and everything. So that's the thing as well. So if you're going to talk to people, make sure they have the listening skills and empathic skills, or able to listen and hear you and everything. And even, you know, suggest that maybe you need to go to someone to talk about these feelings that keep recurring and everything. Yeah. So that's quite deep.
Yeah. I was going to say it's quite, and this is just what I found, you know, you go on that journey, you recognize and maybe depression's there. Yeah. You announce almost to the world. Yeah. What depression is quite uplifting.
Yeah.
But what I also found was, yes, it's empowering and actually helped a lot. Yeah. I'm talking about, you know, friends, and I'm not suggesting that this is all friends, you know, in every group, but there was a degree of, like, the friends that maybe, or the people in general that maybe can't handle it or feel like they're not sure what's going on, they're suddenly distant.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you've got some sort of, you know, some sort of lurgy that they can catch.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you suddenly think, what have I done really?
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily anything you've done.
Yeah.
It's just they don't know how to handle it, or they think there's an expectation on them to do something.
Do something about it,
or it might be overwhelming for them.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a strange one, because again, that's not spoken about.
No.
Really.
No, it's not.
It is just kind of, you know, yes, let's address depression, let's address mental health.
Yeah.
But we have to be realistic. Well, there is a reality to
it. Totally.
So yes, it is empowering, and recognizing and facing it head on. Yes. Works, it helps, and the rest of it. But yes, it's something that I experienced. Well, I think I experienced. I mean, I've never actually addressed this amongst certain friends, but is something I noticed like a distance, like a wall. Like, I haven't heard from you for a while. Is everything all right? Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, but it's kind of interesting, isn't it? Because I think when I sort of said stuff, there were a couple of people, I found it was, maybe they found it too intense for them.
Maybe,
and they didn't know what to say, and whether it would make it worse. You know, because ultimately, you know, your friends want the best for you, and you want the best for them. And sometimes there's that fear and paranoia thing. But also there's that responsibility thing as well. And I think when they just kind of cut myself off, a part of me was like, oh my God, have I done something? And that would increase my stress and anxiety as well as the depression, because all of a sudden I've scared them off. And then I want to be okay so we can reconnect again. And there was another part of me that I was really angry. I was like, well, I thought we were mates, you know, kind of thing. And I thought I could like not bare my soul, you know, kind of thing. I was going to say fully clothed, but that just sounds wrong, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? But,
where are you going, Sal?
Can we edit that? But basically, oh God, that was wrong to say on so many levels.
Where's this conversation?
Yeah, I know. I'm so sorry. Yeah, back to the point. But basically, so I found out quite a lot. And in actual fact, it has to be said, a lot of people did separate or distance themselves. And I found that a hugely, sad, and even more depressing time. And I think, the small part of me tried to be again, empathic with their feelings and trying to think, well, if they can't handle it, they can't handle it. You've just got to appreciate their sense of self in that. And it might unintentionally be hurtful. And it might feel even more isolated, but maybe they can't manage it right now, sort of thing. But all you can do is say, I'm here, you're my mate, I'm here for you if you ever need it, but okay, fine, it is what it is, sort of thing. So I kind of had to accept it because I didn't want to really be angry with them because I like them too much to be angry with them. But I did kind of want to say, well, where are you, type thing. But I have to understand that you have to have that balance. People need to come together, and they want to interact with you. So that could be quite hard. And it was maybe quite a harsh factor of life for that process. But I kind of understand it now that it's not personal. There you go. It's not, it's not personal, and it's about appreciating that. And everyone has to play out their psychologies and their personalities and stuff. So if we really do respect people for who they are, then we've got to understand that and everything. But what it did mean is that the friendships I did form, and again, me and my cousins are pretty tight and stuff. I'm very grateful for that. And everything. So in a way, you start to develop the friendships that you have much more fully, but you also understand that there are other friends, who, aren't on that level, which is cool too. Yeah. Stuff like that,
Okay. So do you have any kind of parting wisdom that you want to...
Is that telling me to shut up, basically? Well, we hadn't done that, Kieran.
Moving on. I've got shit to do.
Yeah, sorry.
No, we can talk for as long as you want.
Well, actually, I'll put the phone on loudspeaker as I'm driving home. I'll still continue talking about that.
Fantastic. Nice.
So let me think. I think really we've kind of sort of discussed everything, and highlighted certain themes that have come up, anger, depression, reaching out for help, also my journey in self-defense, etc., and everything. So, I hope to do more work with, people with anger, and violence, actually, especially with the kids. And, gang and knife crime, etc., and everything. I think that kind of needs to be addressed, and how to get people to process that a lot more fully, especially kids as well. And because there's not a leniency when people, there's a propensity towards violence. They're more willing to use violence as a tool of management, which obviously, is a short-term solution, but has long-term consequences. And maybe it's better to invest in a long-term solution rather than anything. So to pull it back, I think parting ways is really to address any concerns that you have about yourself, to learn how to be kind to yourself and at peace with yourself. And if you're feeling that, that's off in some way, shape or form, try to brainstorm what you could do to get help. Obviously, your podcast, OneSend.academy.
Yeah.
There you go. Perfect. At Sal's Boxing Clinic. If you ever need sort of like pointers, just get in touch, and then we can probably do something else, in terms of a conversation about where to get help, or throw out a couple of, links or something like that.
Nice. Yeah. So that's at Sal's Boxing Clinic.
At Sal's Boxing
Instagram.
Clinic. Instagram and Facebook. Yeah. Nice. Website with that name in it will be up at some point and everything. I can't promise. But yeah, those links, there's always stuff. And I've always got posts as well. And I've always kind of referenced you as well.
And where are you based currently?
I'm based in North London, in the Crouch End, Muswell Hill area. Nice. But again, traveling to Central when I do sort of some freelance work. But pretty much, I like to see myself as a bridge between people who either in physical fitness or with self-defense or martial arts. Either that you're very sedentary, you want to get active. I can be that bridge between those two. Or if you're a martial artist or someone who wants to learn self-defense, the bridge between not knowing anything or knowing a little bit to getting a lot more proficient. And then I've got a senior instructors who will take you from that foundation and develop you even further. So there's a nice clear structure about it and a process.
Yeah, love it.
Wicked. Nice one.
Well, thank you for coming today.
Thanks for having me. Actually, it's been really cool. Yeah.
Good. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you for bearing your soul.
Oh, God, yeah.
As I'm sure you're aware, I don't really edit this.
Oh, my gosh, okay.
I do want an authentic
really? I didn't know. We didn't explain. You didn't talk about this.
I know. Actually, I probably should have got you to sign.
What's in my tea?
Really. Yeah, I put some CBD oil in your tea to relax you.
Do you have a twin? Do you have a twin?
Do I have a twin?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, I can see two of you right now. How much you can put in the tea?
Well, it's funny you should mention that, mate. So, on that bombshell,
yes.
So, I think it's best to sign out there. Yeah. So, thank you for joining us today, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
And thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to the One Zen Fitness Academy podcast. My name's been Kieran. Please share with your friends, leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. Thank you for your time.